The human who slept peacefully in a galactic war zone. Section 1. On the far reaches of the known galaxy lay the planet Vorik 9, infamous for being a chaotic, dangerous war zone that few species dared approach without the utmost caution. Known as the Ruin of Stars, in galactic lore, Vorik 9 was a desolate, war-ravaged land where the ground trembled from endless skirmishes between rival alien factions. Plasma bursts lit up the sky, artillery thundered at all hours, and the landscape itself bore the scars of millennia of conflict. To most intelligent species, Vorik 9 was a hellscape better left alone. That was, until human explorers ventured beyond the usual star routes, exploring every corner of the galaxy without so much as a second thought. Thus, it was here, on this scarred and explosive ground, that Jonas Kane, a regular, unassuming human space traveler, found himself in the middle of a place no sane species would linger. Jonas was entirely unfazed by the turmoil around him, and to the surprise of the other species observing him, he seemed entirely unconcerned about the chaos. When Jonas had arrived, he'd unknowingly entered one of the most dangerous regions of the galactic sector. His small cargo ship had veered off course due to a navigational error, causing him to crash land on Vorik 9 in the dead of night. Emerging from the cockpit, bruised and covered in dust, Jonas surveyed the rocky, crater-pocked landscape with a raised eyebrow. It wasn't long before he was discovered by Vorik 9's resident species, a grizzled, combat-hardened people known as the Drekhar. Though not particularly large or physically intimidating, Drekhar were fierce warriors, renowned for their sharp tactical minds and deep-seated honor codes. Clad in patchwork armor and bristling with an assortment of weaponry, the Drekhar took one look at the crash-landed human and exchanged glances filled with exasperation. "Another foolish creature who doesn't know where he is," one Drekhar warrior muttered, his voice a low growl. Jonas, blissfully unaware of the reputation of Vorik 9, simply grinned at the Drekhar. "Hey there. You wouldn't happen to know where I am, would you?" The warriors blinked in astonishment. Jonas's calm, relaxed tone seemed utterly out of place. "You're on Vorik 9, the Drekhar warrior replied. "This is a war zone. It is not for the faint of heart." "Oh, I see," Jonas replied, shrugging. "Well, since my ship's down for repairs, I'll be here for a bit. Nice place, by the way." The Drekhar didn't know whether to laugh or run for cover. To them, humans were still an enigma, regarded as relatively harmless but unpredictable. Still, the idea that one would crash land on Vorik 9 and treat it as a casual rest stop was absurd. But Jonas was undeterred. After wandering the area and assessing his surroundings, he soon located a somewhat intact structure on the outskirts of a Drekhar encampment, where he decided to make himself at home. With a sense of nonchalance that both bewildered and amused the Drekhar, Jonas set up his sleeping bag, unpacked some rations, and settled in as if he were on a camping trip back on Earth. As explosions lit up the night sky and laser fire crackled through the air, Jonas took one last sip of water from his canteen and promptly lay down to sleep. The Drekhar watched in disbelief. To them, the human's casual dismissal of the danger surrounding him was both baffling and mildly impressive. As the night wore on and battles raged close by, Jonas remained fast asleep, undisturbed by the endless symphony of chaos. Section 2. As dawn broke over Vorik 9, Jonas awoke with a stretch, rubbing his eyes as if he'd just had a pleasant night's sleep back on Earth. The Drekhar, who had been keeping a wary eye on him throughout the night, regarded him with awe. Not only had he survived, but he hadn't shown the slightest sign of fear or anxiety. Jonas greeted the warriors cheerfully as he brushed the dust off his clothes. "Good morning," he said, unaware of the incredulous stares directed his way. The Drekhar leader, a seasoned warrior named Thrak, approached him with a mixture of caution and intrigue. "You do not fear the noise of battle, human?" Jonas shrugged. "Nah, I've had noisier neighbors. You should see the fireworks back on Earth, now those can keep you up." The Drekhar were left speechless. But Thrak, seeing an opportunity, decided to test the human's mettle. "If you truly fear nothing, then you should join us on the battlefield. See if your bravado holds." Without hesitation, Jonas replied, "Sure, why not?" The next skirmish found Jonas walking alongside the Drekhar as they prepared to engage a rival faction known as the Lorcan, a group of reptilian warriors with high-tech armor and plasma-based weaponry. The Drekhar charged forward with a battle cry, but Jonas, armed with nothing more than a portable shield generator he'd rigged up from his ship, casually strolled through the crossfire. Despite the cacophony of explosions and the showers of debris, Jonas didn't flinch. He'd crouch occasionally, dodging stray shots with a relaxed ease, even stopping to munch on a protein bar as blaster bolts flew overhead. The Drekhar began to think the human was either invincible or completely unhinged. The Lorcan, however, were not amused. Seeing Jonas's calm demeanor, they regarded him as a dangerous anomaly, a creature immune to fear. Their commanders issued orders to prioritize the human as a target, hoping to break his stoic facade. Yet, as blasts exploded around him, Jonas continued on, barely blinking. As the skirmish drew to a close, Jonas emerged unscathed, much to the dismay of the Lorcan and the astonishment of the Drekhar. His demeanor had rattled the Lorcan far more than any weapon or tactic could have. Rumors spread quickly among the alien factions, and soon, Jonas's mere presence on the battlefield became a point of psychological warfare, a demoralizing force that disturbed even the most battle-hardened warriors. Section 3. Within a week, Jonas had become a legend. To the Lorcan, he was the unbreakable one, a symbol of Earth's defiance. Stories circulated that he could not be killed, that he was immune to pain, and that he possessed powers beyond comprehension. Of course, these rumors were exaggerated. Jonas was simply a laid-back human with an unusual tolerance for chaos. But as his reputation grew, so did the threat against him. The Lorcan leadership convened and devised a plan to capture Jonas, hoping to prove their dominance by breaking the will of the fearless human. They dispatched a specialized unit armed with advanced containment gear, launching an all-out assault on the Drekhar encampment. The Drekhar fought valiantly, but they were overwhelmed by the sheer force and precision of the Lorcan strike. As the Lorcan breached the camp, their leader, a fearsome warrior named Captain Rax, spotted Jonas lounging outside his shelter, completely unfazed by the invasion. Rax sneered, determined to shatter the myth of the unbreakable human. "Human!" Rax shouted, pointing a gauntlet finger at Jonas. "You have no idea what you're up against. Surrender, and I might show you mercy." Jonas blinked lazily, glancing at the Lorcan with mild interest. "Surrender? Nah, I'd rather not." With a roar, Rax charged, aiming a high-powered plasma rifle at Jonas. But Jonas, with his usual nonchalance, activated his makeshift shield generator and casually sidestepped Rax's attack. Frustrated, Rax intensified his assault, unleashing a barrage of plasma fire. Yet Jonas evaded each shot with uncanny ease, occasionally raising an eyebrow as if mildly annoyed by the disturbance. Seeing their captain's efforts fail, the Lorcan soldiers began to hesitate, their confidence shaken. Jonas's composure, his utter lack of concern, was a weapon more powerful than any plasma rifle. Finally, in a last-ditch effort, Rax ordered his men to unleash a concussion grenade. As the grenade exploded, Jonas was thrown off his feet, his shield flickering out. The Lorcan advanced, ready to secure their prize. But as the dust settled, they found Jonas sprawled on the ground, sound asleep, snoring softly. Rax could hardly believe it. The unbreakable human hadn't been defeated, he'd simply fallen asleep mid-battle. The sight was so absurd, so incomprehensible, that the Lorcan soldiers, hardened as they were, began to laugh nervously. The legend of Jonas Kane, the human who couldn't be fazed, grew even larger. Section 4. With Jonas's reputation now established as legendary, an unexpected alliance began to form. The Drekhar, who had at first regarded him with skepticism, now saw him as an inspiration, a rallying symbol in their endless battle. Jonas, blissfully unaware of the effect he was having on the galaxy, continued to sleep soundly each night, unperturbed by the chaos around him. However, the Galactic Council soon took notice of the situation. For centuries, the conflict on Vorak 9 had raged unchecked, and now a single human's presence was beginning to tip the balance. Council representatives from several alien species arrived on Vorik 9 to investigate, and what they found left them baffled. Jonas, an average human, was shaping the future of Vorik 9 not through force, but through his sheer indifference to danger. One council member, an elder of the peaceful Zilvor race, observed Jonas in fascination. "Why does he not fear?" the elder asked Thrak, who had become one of Jonas's closest allies. Thrak shrugged. "Humans are peculiar. This one sleeps through battles as if they were lullabies." Intrigued, the council convened a meeting with Jonas, hoping to understand the enigma. Jonas, who had no idea of his own fame, greeted them casually, not knowing he was standing before some of the galaxy's most influential leaders. "So," Jonas said, sipping a cup of alien brew, "what brings you to this dusty planet?" The council members exchanged glances, struggling to comprehend his calm demeanor. The Zilvor elder spoke up, "We wish to negotiate peace, human. Your presence has shifted the balance here. We believe you may be able to help broker a truce." Jonas tilted his head thoughtfully. "A truce, huh? Sure, I'd be happy to help. If everyone just calmed down, maybe we could all get some sleep." And so, the negotiations began. With Jonas as an unlikely mediator, the warring factions came to the table, each leader secretly embarrassed that they'd been outmatched not by a weapon, but by a human's indifference. Jonas's simple approach to life, taking things in stride, finding peace amid chaos, resonated with the leaders, who began to question the futility of their conflict. In the end, a peace treaty was signed, and Vorik 9 became a symbol of unity. Jonas, unaware of the full extent of his impact, left the planet with a smile, returning to his travels, blissfully indifferent to the legend he'd left behind. Back on Earth, Jonas recounted his adventure to friends as a funny camping trip on a noisy planet. And in the galactic records, he was immortalized as the human who had slept soundly in the heart of a war zone, inspiring a peace that not even the galaxy's wisest could have foreseen.